Hello everyone, and welcome to my first Gyaru Gab in a while, and my very first one done solo, which I am so shocked that the vote, when I asked whether you guys wanted a guest or not, leaned towards me doing this solo. I was actually kind of shocked at that, but we're gonna see how it goes. I'm just going to treat this like an extended version and a more in-depth version of my Instagram stories where I also talk into the void. So yeah, we're just gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna talk about a variety of different things, I think. I think we're going to start off with just my personal projects and what's all going on in my life. I know I did a life update, but a lot of people have asked about Japan, a lot of people have asked about other things, and I think that's the perfect way to dive into this. But I'm also going to be answering your questions about Gyaru. I got a lot of questions about the fashion, I got a lot of questions about stuff socially and the community and where Gyaru is in 2023. So I'll be answering things like that as well and discussing things like that, because I think the last time I did a Gyaru Gab was, like a year ago, and actually a lot has changed in a year. So it'll be interesting to retouch on those things that I said a year ago that may have changed, because believe it or not, a lot of things change within time, and I'm all about change and growth and just things, happening. And Gyaru fashion is one of those things that definitely changes and grows and shifts a lot, and people's ideas of it change and grow and shift a lot as well. So yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to touch base on. Anyways, I know I did a life update that mentioned that I was going to go to Tokyo in August, and I've gotten a lot of questions and stuff about that trip. I feel like anytime anybody's talked to me, it's definitely been about my trip. I think a lot of people, including myself, are very excited for it. I'm also very nervous about this trip. This is my first time ever going abroad. And so I'm trying to go into this with a very open mind, but I'm also trying not to put too much expectations on myself or of traveling in general, because I feel like if your expectations are high, you are more than likely to get disappointed. So I'm just trying to go with the flow and see what all I can do. I mentioned in my life update talking about how there's not a lot of J-fashion content that talks about packing for a trip like this. And I think that's really important to maybe discuss or film as I slowly gather things. I'm going to show you everything that I pack for this trip. I have a cart on Amazon just full of everything you can think of. $300 worth of stuff. Which is definitely coming from a place of privilege, but I've also worked extremely hard for this trip. I have not gone anywhere. I have not socialized in forever. Just so I can do this trip. And I just feel like being prepared for this trip is worth that expense. I mean, to be fair, one of those things is my suitcase set. I also have things like insoles. I have multiple pairs of insoles that I have bought to put into shoes, because in Tokyo you walk a lot. I have chafing balm so I don't blister, because your girl's got thick thighs. I have fold-up flats just in case. You never know. What else I have? A portable charger, a luggage weight. All those things are in my cart and ready to go. I'm trying to think of I think I have vacuum bags in my cart just so I can kind of make my luggage or my packing smaller so I can fit other things in to bring back. I'm going to bring, I think, 2 luggages. I know a lot of people go with one, and they're always like, oh, I regretted doing that. I ended up having to buy a second luggage when I was in Japan. So I'm already trying to set myself up where there's 2 and I don't have to worry about it. But if you guys have any packing suggestions or anything like that, do let me know in the comments section. This is, like I said, my first time doing any of this, so I'm definitely playing it by ear, but also trying to kind of over prepare myself just in case. And in terms of Gyaru outfits, I only have one for sure planned, I think, And it's the one I showed on my Instagram stories. It's an Alba outfit that I'm possibly going to wear to Shibuya to take outfit pictures and whatnot with. And I think the only pair of heels I'm bringing are the Jeffrey Campbell platforms for that reason. Because, like, I'm going to be doing so much walking that I really have to keep in mind. So as much as I want to bring these really crazy extra outfits, because my shoes have to be flat and comfortable, it's really kind of scaled back what I am bringing to wear to this trip. I mean, not only that, but like I also want to be comfortable walking, and some of my clothes are really, really pretty aesthetically, but walking in them for hours at a time just isn't very practical or logical. So I think a lot of people, I think at first had this like expectation that I was going to go all out, and I'm still probably going to somewhat go all out. But in terms of outfits, like I said, I'm having to scale back because I have to keep in mind shoes and comfort and the weather. I'm going in August when it's extremely humid. I'm very worried about my makeup, and I am praying that Urban Decay All-Nighter comes in clutch. In terms of outfits, I've kind of kept in mind like some things that I might bring. I have some very comfortable golds that I might bring, and a lot of denim. Surprisingly, a lot of denim shorts, denim skirts, maxi skirts, lots of camisoles with throwovers, things like that that I just really feel that can be mixed and matched and be very versatile, but also be very gal. There's a lot of brands that I'm bringing and some off-brand stuff that is very practical as well. That's what I'm keeping in mind outside of just my Alba outfit. And because I'm having to scale back a little bit on outfit choices, I'm really trying to put a lot of focus into my makeup and hair for this trip. Like I mentioned before, I really want my base makeup to be very solid and for my eyeliner to stay on and not go anywhere or anything like that. My worst fear is eyelashes. It's my eyelashes not, staying on or betraying me, but hopefully that does not happen despite it being wet. I'm very scared about that. Other than that, though, I've had to keep in mind, too, because, I was like, oh, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, and I realized, when it comes to things like Dolly Wink, or, eyelash glue, I'm like, no, I don't need to buy that, I'll just go to Donkey and buy it. Why am I freaking out so much about things that are easily bought? Just worry about your American things that you cannot get over there, and if you even could, they'd be at, a premium price because they're having to import it. So, yeah, I've had to, remind myself, wait, you're gonna be okay. You're in access of, a lot of the gal things, so you're gonna be fine, Darla. With this also being said, I've been looking into hair places. I had to make the decision between whether I was going to do my hair or my nails in Tokyo, and I thought, okay, you know what? Probably my nails are going to get banged up, carrying luggage around, and just doing a lot of solo things that, get your nails bent out of shape. So with this being said, I definitely decided to spend the big money on the hair, and I've been looking into a ton of hair salons in Tokyo to get not only my base cut, the layers reshaped and extensions in, but also places to get Sujimori done, which is the big gyaru hair that a lot of you love reposting and love to try to emulate. I'm looking into places like that. And one of the places that I ended up finding was thanks to the fact that I was translating the Tsubasa Masuaka blog book. And if you don't already know, I translate a lot of Tsubasa Masuaka content, and I've been translating her book Tsubasa-ism slowly but surely. I got kind of burned out of that one. And I've been doing her blog book, which is a little easier to clean and translate. But in her blog book, she mentions going to the salon called Upsy Daisy, and for short, she calls it Upsy. And that's how she got that iconic, really pretty fluffy hair that she had in 2007, 2008. And just out of curiosity, I looked up the salon, not expecting it to still exist and have the same stylist there. But lo and behold, the same stylist is there, the salon is still there, and I'm really hoping that they take foreign clients and that they'll grant my wish of having Tsubasa Masuaka or pop teen style hair from that era of time that I really worship and adore. It's a ridiculous request, I know, but just my teenage heart really wants that. And I kind of know how to convey what I want in Japanese, thankfully. It's just a matter of, can they take foreign clients? And will they grant that? And I'm kind of low-key praying that they do. It would be amazing if I can make content, like English-speaking content for that salon. It would be cool to just be able to do a YouTube video or just talk about it in depth with you guys. But I don't know if that would be allowed there. And I'm not a big enough influencer. Like, I am a fucking termite of an influencer, a micro-influencer, not even that. But, like, I just feel like I don't have a big enough following to convince people to, like, be like, hey, let me film here. So I don't know if I'm really going to be able to do as much as I want to, even content-wise for that. But if I can just get my hair done there, that will be a victory to me. A lot of people have also mentioned hair and setups to me in Shinjuku. I know about it. I know a lot of people have gone there. I looked it up even before a lot of people have gone there. I think it's one of the few places that still does Sujimori. I think I will try to get my hair done 2 days out of my 2 weeks and see how that goes. I don't know when. I gotta base it around when I get my first hair appointment done, because I can't really do anything until my extensions are in and the layers are cut in and stuff. I know a lot of people try to get Sujimori done without, like, extensions or, like, the right haircut for Sujimori, and it just ends up looking really, like, one-dimensional, or, like, there's gaps if you don't have extensions in or have enough hair to do Sujimori. So that's why I'm getting extensions in. I know a lot of people are like, wait, your hair is already really, really long. Yes, I understand that, but because I cut it short up top to get volume, I don't have enough for the middle. I have plenty on the bottom and plenty on the top, but the top is too short and I don't have enough in the, like, the middle section. So that's why I'm considering hair extensions, and it will be my first time getting hair extensions, or the first time actually getting my hair cut in general, because the last time somebody touched my hair, I was 13 years old, 12, 13 actually, and it was my first day of school in California the day before, and I went to this hair salon, and I wanted my hair below my shoulders, and I shit you not, guys, they took shears, like the buzz cutter to my hair. So I went to school with all my hair off on my first day. And I cried, and I was bullied. I already had glasses and braces and didn't already feel very good about myself. And I was already very nervous about that situation, like going to a new place. And suddenly I just felt like I made a garbage impression that, like, I was just going to be known as, like, the ugly kid. So ever since then, I have always done my own hair and have always cut my own hair. And sometimes I do a good job, sometimes I don't. But at least I know if I fuck up on my own hair, it is my own fault and not the fault of somebody else's. So me getting my hair done in Japan is a little bit of a risk, especially with the language barrier, and definitely kind of triggers my anxiety a little bit, because like I said, the last time I put my hair in somebody else's hands, I ended up traumatized. But I'm hoping, because I'm wanting to go to a really good place, that I'll end up very pleased and have an experience that, you know, I can look back on and be like, dude, my hair for like a good month looked amazing. I say a month because the extensions only last like a month, though I'm hoping even when I take the extensions out, like, my hair will still look amazing. And I mean, just to put into perspective too, a lot of the gyaru models that you look up to, a lot of the repost of hair that you guys have on Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, most of those girls have extensions. And so it's not necessarily a necessity for gal, it just really ups your look. Even some of the guys and gals in the community, like, their hair looks really, really good because they are relying on extensions to get that big ass fucking hair that everybody likes. Not everybody, but a lot of it is trickery. A lot of it is the illusion of having extra hair that somebody doesn't always have the luxury of having. At least not naturally. And this is why I've also always said, when it comes to gal, to be good at more than one thing. Because if you're just good at hair, or you're just good at nails, or you're only good at coordinating clothes, or only good at makeup, you will find yourself lacking. And it's good to challenge yourself, I feel like. For me, I've experimented with a little bit of everything. I've done nails at one point. I'm very, very passionate about makeup. I love clothing coordination. I dabble in hair. My hair's not always the strongest. It depends on whether or not I have the time to do my hair or not. But I always try my best with that. Same goes with nails. I stopped doing nails mainly because I acquired an office job, and just even my coworkers' nails pop off filing things in cabinets and lifting things. So a lot of like my coworkers like stop even spending money on their nails because of shit like that. So I just stopped. Not only that, but just I've never experimented with gel nails before. I've only done like regular polish with like charms and shit. So they never really last a long time given the amount of effort I put in. Maybe I should try gel one day and see how that works for me. Anyways, I feel like I'm going off on a tangent about like hair and nails and makeup, which is a very gal thing to do, but I was talking about Japan, so I should probably stick to talking about Japan right now. So yeah, other than hair and packing and things like that, other things I've been planning is this big music festival in Japan called Summer Sonic. And I used to say my big dream was to go to A Nation when I went to Japan. That was like the ultimate thing I wanted to do. All the big AVEX artists come out for this event. But since COVID happened, A Nation is just no longer a thing anymore. And then I had the choice between EDC Japan, I think, or Ultra Japan, something like that. But that was at a different point in time. There was Fuji Rock Fest, which is a lot of J-rock bands, but it was in like April. And then there was, of course, Summer Sonic. And I just felt like Summer Sonic was really, really diverse in terms of the guest lineup. And that's something I noticed with A Nation before it ended, is it was becoming very, very K-pop saturated. And not that there's anything wrong with K-pop, it's just so big in the market now that it's really not giving room for J-pop acts to really thrive the way they used to. Because A Nation used to be like IU and AAA and Kotakumi and yes, K-pop acts as well, but the big headliners were always J-pop acts. And now it's switched. Now I feel like the K-pop acts were the headliners and the J-pop acts were like the side shows and stuff. And it was actually really depressing. Like I remember seeing Fakey be at this event and feeling bummed out that they weren't getting the notoriety that they have long deserved. I've been following Fakey since they debuted, and I was just like, man, like they deserve so much more love. And eventually they did kind of get it, but it was after A Nation wasn't a thing any longer. I was so upset. So yeah, A Nation is no longer a thing, and so I just thought, okay, Summer Sonic, it is. That is the next best thing. And I do feel pretty pleased with the lineup. The lineup consists of a lot of like American artists and Korean artists, yes, but a lot of J-pop acts as well, and that's mainly what I'm going for. And I wanted to go to a music festival mainly so I could see multiple acts, because kind of getting concert tickets in Japan is a little bit of a struggle still, especially without a Japanese phone number, it seems like. So yeah, I chose Summer Sonic, and I think the person I'm most looking forward to seeing, and it's like a very gal thing, like I feel like if you were a gal going to Summer Sonic, you go to see Chanmina. Oh my god. I am ecstatic that she's doing another show this year. She did one last year, and it was amazing. So the fact that she's coming back again to do a show is just, I'm so excited. Her and I. Now, I has shared a stage, shared songs with the queen herself, Namie Amuro, who has long retired. But just the fact that I is still performing and doing things and has been involved with like plenty of different fucking legends and is an amazing vocalist herself. Oh my god, it's going to be such a privilege being in the same fucking concert hall as this queen. Then we have other acts. We have Tsubasa Masuwaka's ex, the lead vocalist of Sekai no Owari. They're going to be performing there. Which is wild. And then we have acts such as Sky High. Sky High is one of the members from the co-ed pop group, J-pop group AAA, Attack All Around. So that'll be really fun to see. My friend is a huge BE:FIRST fan. BE:FIRST is like the biggest boy group right now, I feel like. Outside of like the Exile Tribe lineup. I don't think they're signed to LDH. I don't know. somebody tell me. But yeah, Be First is going to be there, and that's a big deal, and I'm going to go and see them on behalf of my friend who is like a super fan of theirs. I think also as well in terms of idols, like Momoiro Clover Z is going to be there. I just only know them from the stuff they worked on for Sailor Moon. I am a filthy casual when it comes to that. I know Baby Metal is going to be there, and Yoasobi, I think, as well as Macaroni and Pizza, and I forget who else, but I think J-pop wise, those are the people I know. Outside of the J-pop lineup, we have fucking Kendrick Lamar, who, that's not my generation of like hip-hop, rap, and R&B, but it's my brother's generation of hip-hop, rap, and R&B and that type of thing. So they're actually quite jealous. They're like, wait, you're getting to see Kendrick Lamar in Japan? And I'm like, I don't know. It depends if he plays when something I care about plays. Also, we have Blur, who I think is a 90s band, if I'm not mistaken. We have Fall Out Boy, which is part of my generation. I grew up listening to fucking Fall Out Boy, so I'm quite pleased with that one. I might go see them. And then Evanescence. Seeing Amy Lee in person will just shake me to my core. I really hope she's not performing when other people are performing, because obviously my J-pop artists are going to take priority, given the fact that I could see Evanescence any other time, probably, possibly, hopefully. But if nobody's playing when they play, I will definitely go and see Evanescence. It was really funny. My brother was telling me, 13-year-old Darla would be shook right now. Like, they wouldn't believe it. But, like, when I look back, a lot of things I've done, my past self, my childhood self, would not be able to believe that I've, like, seen and done all the fucking shit that I've done. Even just doing this trip is still kind of like, wow, this is happening. So yeah, there is Summer Sonic. That was kind of why I staged my trip around those dates, as weird as they are. I'm flying in during Obon of all times, which makes me very nervous because it's also when everybody else is traveling, right? And here I am with luggage trying to figure out how I'm transporting things. I know I can take the limousine bus to Shinjuku, but I don't know if there's one that goes to Shibuya anymore. And from there, I'm like, do I want to be that foreigner that's on a crowded train with luggage? I don't know. Or do I just want to taxi it so I'm just not that asshole? Like, what do I do? I'm not quite sure yet. We're trying to figure that out as we speak. Anyways, moving along in terms of a gal pilgrimage, there's not a lot of gal things anymore like there was. I know Tension still exists, which is like a gal style girls bar where you can drink and talk to gals and stuff, but like I don't drink alcohol, so I don't know if that would be a place for me. Then there's the Gyaru themed Purikura store. It's a chain Purikura place, but they have like one that's gal themed, so if that's still there, I definitely intend on going. There's of course Shibuya 109, but I just don't feel like that's a gal department store or a gal mall anymore. I might just go for the novelty of it. A friend told me that, like, kind of like the, you know how like the Hollywood Walk of Fame has like the handprints of the celebrities? They have Namie's there, so I might just go for that. I'm also on the hunt for like the Gyaru Daruma gacha that are around that my friend told me about. I definitely want to get more of those. I really want the like super hardcore like Daruma, the Yamamba one. I think I have a Mamba one, but I want the Yamamba one as well. Obviously there's Don Quixote and things like that, which I mean, that's I need to get necessities there anyway, but there's a Love Boat collaboration there, and I think one other brand, but the Love Boat one and the Egg magazine stuff is what I want mainly. Outside of that, there's a few cafes I also want to visit, one of them being the Milky Way Cafe, because everything is moon and star themed there, and I just feel like that's very on brand for me. And it's right next to Otome Road, so I have this plan of maybe dressing up in Hime Gyaru, getting my hair set done, going to Ikebukuro to go to the Milky Way Cafe, and then just buying dirty ass fucking yaoi afterward. There's a ton of stuff with Bishonen boys on it afterward, maybe, possibly, I don't know. The irony of that statement, but we'll see. That might be a plan. Traditionally, I really want to go to a Matsuri. Like, I promise you this trip isn't going to be wasted on me. Like, I really want to go see fireworks. I really want to do like food stall food and games. I don't know if that'll be possible, but if I can at least see Japanese style fireworks, which are kind of different compared to like the stuff we get here in America, I will be very pleased. I think there's a fireworks showing in Yokohama, near Minato Mirai. So that might be the day I visit Minato Mirai and go on the Ferris wheel and look at fireworks. Maybe that would be really fun. I think outside of that, I'm just playing it by ear. Like, there's a lot of other concerts, like music stuff I'd want to go do. It's just a matter of trying to figure out how to get the concert tickets to be able to do said things. That, and like, I definitely want to explore around and just see things as I go. I know a lot of people, you know, really have an itinerary and they really, really plan out their trip, but I'm really not planning mine out too much. Like, there's things I want to go do and see for sure. I know a lot of people go to Puroland. I don't know if I'll do that, because I feel like I could get what I want just going to a regular Sanrio store. We used to have them out here. I know they have one in LA, but like, that'll just feel nostalgic just because we used to have them. We used to get all the imported shit anyway, so it'll be just nice to go back to the store and get stuff. I really like Kuromi. Even before like the hype, I loved the evil rabbits, so yay, maybe to finding Kuromi stuff within easy access. But I don't think I need to go to Puroland necessarily to do that. I really want to look for like Sailor Moon stuff, as well as some of you may know I'm a huge Sailor Moon junkie, and so like that, the Sailor Moon store is definitely in my itinerary, and anything else Sailor Moon related, given the fact that the movie had just came out. And definitely there's like a little bit of clothing shopping, but I don't know if I'm going to find anything there, given the fact that like Gyaru fashion just really isn't a thing anymore. It would be amazing to find like a Gyaru style or like 109 style consignment shop. I know back in the day, way back in the heyday of Gyaru kind of sort of being dead, but being accessible to people, we had this consignment shop called Wambu. Any vet gal who's been around for a while remembers Wambu, and that was the place to get your clothes at. Like, that was, oh, it was so good. It was, you could buy stuff on Rakuten, but I think they had a physical store as well, last I recall. And all of people would donate their clothes there, but the 109 would throw their fucking dead stock to Wambu, so you'd get clothes that were brand new with tags on it, or like multiple items that just 109 wasn't selling, and we'd get them for like $2 or $3. I'm not even shitting you. I'd get big boxes full of clothes, and I'd only pay like $40 or $50 for that whole big box of clothes. Because the thing was, too, and this is how I'd like buy really trendy brands like Rady and Datura back in the day, consignment shops were willing to take more of a price hit than places like Mercury. So I'd always look for like the quote-unquote newer things on Wambu first before I'd look on Mercury or anywhere else. And it was just a really fun time, and a lot of people were buying stuff and really enjoying it. One of my hauls from Wambu is on fucking YouTube still, even from like one of my first Wambu hauls, and I remember just feeling so thrilled that I owned Daya finally after looking at it for forever. Like, I got a whole nice Mars set, like, with the armbands, 2 skirts, the matching top, just everything except maybe the head bow. And I remember getting it for, like, $25, and I think it's just crazy, because now that set would go for $160 easily. I mean, the market now is just so insane. Y'all deal with the shittiest scalping prices now, and it's just unfortunate because it's really barring a lot of new people from trying the fashion, and it's really making it hard for like collectors like myself, you know, to get pieces that like maybe I thought weren't going anywhere, and now I'm like, ooh, I regret not getting that, because now that's really hard to find, or if I do find it, I don't want to pay fucking $150 for that. Like, are you kidding me? Especially when you know something's gone for like 10 or 15 in the past. Like, it's insane to me. And I've talked about how, like, not everything is just me hoarding things. I find things for friends all the time. And it's such a bummer to, like, have a piece and they'd be like, hey, like, are you selling that piece? Or can you find me a piece like that? And me not be able to anymore because it's, like, went up in price. It's so fucking sad. I'd really like to think that the scalping problem will one day calm the fuck down. But I'm feeling very pessimistic about it. And just, I feel bad for so many of you guys. And I think a lot of baby gals have treated Gyaru, like, Lolita, thinking that, like, just Japanese fashion in general went for just exorbitant prices when it never did. And so, like, when they're like, $50 is a deal, I'm like, no, it's not, honey. Like, tell me you're new here without telling me you're new here. Like, dude, like, we used to buy clothes, like, a ton of clothes in a big-ass box, all for, like, $40. Like, the one piece you bought, I bought multiple things for that price. Like, y'all just weren't there for it. It makes me sad. And it'd be really cool, like I said, to go to Japan and find a consignment shop where gal stuff is still, you know, sold. But now I feel like even the Japanese market has kind of gotten fucked, and I just don't see that happening anytime soon. It's a shame. I'm going to see if I can find other places and other things, but just, dang, that really took me down, like, a nostalgic route, like, talking about Wambu, and that also brings up, like, some other stuff, I guess, that I could talk about with you guys, and that's just the era of, like, when I started participating in gal, or just really looking up to other gyaru. I'm extremely lucky, because I got to participate in the last leg of, like, the brands existing, the magazines existing, and, you know, unfortunately I got to also see their, you know, demise. And I was bringing this up with a friend, how it's funny how over 10 years ago or 10 years ago, everybody did not want to be seen in last season's clothes. Everybody was all about being on trend and being on top of it. Like, that was the cool thing to do. Nobody really cared for having last season's clothes. So, like, the sales market was, like, booming on LiveJournal and other places because of that. Because back in the day, you used to sell clothes on LiveJournal and give somebody a PayPal payment and hope to God your fucking clothes came to you. And then there was Facebook Marketplace, and now I don't know how anybody sells their stuff. Depop, Vinted, I guess. I'm old, but that's the thing. It's crazy because now having clothes from 10 years ago is cool, when back in the day it would have never been cool. Like, if you had Alba in fucking 2010, 2009, like, people look at you kind of like, they'd side-eye you a little bit, because that's not what's on trend. That's not what your models are wearing. That's not in right now. So it's crazy, because now the older, the more expensive the clothes are, and the cooler you are, actually. So it's kind of crazy how Gyaru fashion has went in an opposite direction of where it went to, at least in the Gaijin gal community. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I just think it's interesting how the narrative around trends and the narrative around new and old clothes and what models are wearing or whatever has really shifted. Nobody's really looking to Reiwa gals like that, like they do Heisei gals. And it really shows how, like, charisma and how things are marketed, and, you know, how certain branding and brand loyalty really affected the Gyaru sphere of things. I really think that's what is lacking nowadays, is just, like, brand loyalty, or just, like, charisma, especially. I feel like a lot of people lack charisma. But with that being said, Egg magazine just did a egg model tryout, and I watched it, and I'm actually quite pleased with the girls who got picked. Really looking into, like, the tryout process and trying to figure out what the people selecting the girls, what was going through their head. I think the fan favorite was definitely Ichigo. She was getting compared to Katan, of course, and Gehako, I think, at the time. And what was really crazy about one of the videos is she was with some other girls that also had a similar look. I think the other girl was named Fujichi, and they just really had a chemistry with each other. Like, everything was loud and obnoxious, and just, I was like, oh my god, this really does feel like the old Egg days for a minute, because I think her, Ichigo, and Kaitsa, and I think there was another one. I'm looking through the pictures right now just so I can figure out all these girls' names, because they're all quite new to me. But they had a really, really good chemistry with each other, and it felt like old Egg for a minute. Truly and honestly, it did. It felt like a blast from the past. And I think the girls who were picked were really good. I don't think Fujichi wasn't chosen, but Ichigo was definitely one of the girls picked, and then there was Yuana, who had more of, like, the Reiwa look, which I think they're still trying to include, so there was some diversity there. And then there's Kaitsa, who was also chosen, who has more of, like, I don't know if it would be considered, like, a sweeter look, but she has a very fun style as well, and I feel like her and Ichigo are gonna be like the next big thing. Kind of like how I predicted that Erika was really gonna come out of her shell and be like the main girl for a while. Her and Juna, currently in Egg. Erika and Juna are my favorites in terms of the Reiwa Egg gal lineup, but I am definitely rooting for Ichigo a lot. It's so funny she shares the same name as one of my really good friends. But I honestly like all of them, and I just really hope that it gets that, like, charisma gal spirit back into the magazine that I feel like has slowly been kind of gradually happening again, but, like, I feel like this new energy and these fresh faces are really gonna take it to the next level, especially given the fact that, like I said, I saw that one video, I saw them engage with each other, and I was like, oh my god, this feels like old times. And that's Kashi, like, very, very nostalgic. And it's crazy how Egg now is thriving and the other magazines have kind of fallen off because Pop Teen obviously kind of ceased publication. Supposedly they went online, but that's never a good sign for a magazine. I know Egg is online and like it's a hybrid situation where they do a seasonal physical copy and then they do their online mag, but the fact that they have a physical copy still is telling, whereas Pop Teen has completely went online, and I don't feel like people are reaching for Pop Teen like they used to, which is crazy because Pop Teen had such a monopoly on the gal market to the extent of where it killed gal. Like, all the brands had to change because the magazine, the big one, changed. Like, Pop Teen was a senior magazine. It was there before Ranzuki, it was there before Egg, it was there before Ageha or any of that. So they had first access to all the brands in the fashion shows. Model-wise, it was mainly Pop Teen models, and then Egg or Ageha models secondary. So when Pop Teen changed their aesthetic, the clothes had to change their aesthetic. And it's funny how that's kind of turned on its head a little bit, and it makes me wonder what the future is looking like for gal as a whole, given that, you know, Egg still has something physical and people's eyes, like, people are looking at Egg still, whereas nobody's looking at Pop Teen or Ranzuki, even though they're still being published. And I don't see too many people mention Ageha despite them being active. And I mean, to be fair, those magazines have steered away from the gal demographic, but it's interesting seeing people pay attention to gal again. Like, I just recently saw a video on TikTok from a user called Shibuya News, I think, who posts news about Shibuya, and they did a video where they were showing these two girls in Alba Rosa, and they're like, oh my god, there's Heisei gals out in the street, and it makes me really excited to go over there just to see how many, like, Heisei style girls I even see. I know they're far and few in between, but it would be exciting to at least see one. And it really is interesting knowing that there's a Gyaru Purikura store, and that there's just slowly things popping up. I also noticed that the Ayumi Hamasaki 109 collaboration sold out to the extent of where even the gals who wanted it were bitching about the scalpers coming in, buying up everything, and selling it for, like, triple the fucking price for, like, a pair of socks or whatever. Like, it was insane. But it just shows that people are really interested in gal-related things. Even though Ayumi Hamasaki is never identified as gal, the big three have never identified as gal, but gals look up to them so much that they'll consume things done by them. And the thing is that Ayu really is charismatic even at her age, you know, and she caters to Gyaru. Like, all her stuff that she did was, like, leopard print and glamorous and fun, and the brands tried to, like, incorporate the Ayu logo and bling and just, like, little things, even if it was simple, and it caught the interest of a lot of people. There were lines for shit, supposedly. So it shows that there's a demand there. There's just not a lot catering to it, and I really do hope that changes, because clearly people are excited when they see gals on the street. People are excited when they see brands collaborating or artists catering to that demographic. I also think that there's a interest in gal now because there are a lot of Korean vloggers really interested in gal, and this is a thing that I've talked about before with Churiko or Danny, and I think one of my entries that I did for her blog. there's a lot of Korean bloggers who are wearing mismatched 109 brands and being like, oh, this is gal style, or I tried gal for a day. Or they go to 109 or they go to Shibuya and are like, oh, I'm dressed as a gal for a day and this is how gals live. Even though it's not really, it never really translates as gal to me. It translates as alternative. It still translates as like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not, it doesn't give gal to me. It just gives like a nod to maybe like 109 style, which a lot of people did without being gal. There were gals who wore Liz Lisa, and then there were people who wore Liz Lisa that weren't gal, and I think that's more of what's going on. It's just, there's a lot of like, I don't want to say miscommunication, but a lot of just like, I don't want to even say misinfo, but just a misinterpretation of, I guess, what gal is. Especially given that, like, pop teen's aesthetic changed and a lot of things changed, and, you know, it really depends on what magazine you follow, what era you follow as to what gal is to you. I know that there's this South Korean clothing brand that did a collaboration with the manga gals, or some of you guys know it as Super Gals, and it was, like, super well received, and I was honestly shocked that something like that was in South Korea rather than in Japan, where I feel like, you know, Japanese gals would be way more familiarized with it, but it just really shows the environment of how, like, there's people in Korea that are really, really interested in Gyaru culture, arguably maybe even more than the people in Japan, and it's very amusing to me, because, like I said, it's being misinterpreted, but there's interest there, and it's just, yeah. So, Korean bloggers wearing Liz Lisa or Cecile or whatever, yes, is very interesting, but they don't really, like I said, they don't court it in a gal way. They don't really do their makeup in a gal way. Like, it still looks very K-pop. To me, like, to them, that's very heavy, but it's still not heavy enough, even in that, like, glamorous Tsubasa Masuwaka era. Like, the makeup was there. Still, the hair was still on point. Like, throwing on a blonde wig and throwing on lashes doesn't make you gal. It's a vibe, it's a look, and it's really hard to fucking explain to, like, everyday people, because you almost have to entirely immerse yourself into the fashion and the culture to really understand what it is. But I do find it interesting that South Koreans are very interested in Gyaru, or find it nostalgic, or mention that they looked up to particularly pop teen models. It's a lot of pop teen stuff, and I think that's where there's a lot of misinterpretation, given the fact that, like I said, pop teen changed, and the look of pop teen it's interesting, compared to, like, Egg, and Agyeha, and Ranzuki, and all the other gal mags that also existed. It really just depends on what mag you follow, what models you look up to, and I think that's where you can kind of tell whether or not somebody's cosplaying Gyaru, or really happen to be gal, just based on what their interests are. Are they going to all the latest clubs in Shibuya still? I think the big club right now is Club TK, last I recall, especially given that Agyeha shut down. Like, everybody used to go to Agyeha back in the day. Who is your favorite model? What brands are you loyal to? What magazines do you like reading? Like, even from the past, like, you can still say things like that. For me and Lizzie, for instance, we adore pop teen. We're definitely pop teen girls, and before anybody's like, oh, they're just pop teen gals, they're not real gals. Pop teen had a monopoly on the market. It's what killed gals, so don't look down on pop teen girls, because they kind of contributed to Gyaru being very mainstream. In comparison, Egg was very underground. In comparison, I guess you could say. It was very well known and very popular, but it was very much so underground compared to something like Pop Teen that, you know, featured so many different fucking Avex artists and whatnot. Not that Avex wasn't involved with Egg either, but, like, it was just on a different level. And then Agyeha was its own thing too, which I think a lot of people forget. You know, it was about nightlife, it was about hostessing, and yes, it was very popular at one point in time, but it wasn't Pop Teen. It wasn't that mag. And, you know, obviously Ranzuki also had its era of being quite popular, but like I said, I just feel like Pop Teen at one point was very consistent. So yeah, I think that's why Lizzie and I, you know, are so intrigued with what Pop Teen was, is because it really put gal front and center to just the everyday person, beyond just, like, the egg vibe of things, like, to the extent of where even Egg's aesthetic somewhat changed. The girls lightened up, definitely, and got a little less rough looking, and went more for, like, a sleek, cool look, rather than, you know, rough. Like, things like that really do change, I think, people's perception of gal, or their interpretation of gal. And that's, I feel like, what truly makes somebody gal is just, who do they look up to? Who is their charisma? What type of music do they listen to? What are the activities that they like doing and stuff? Do they go to karaoke? Do they go clubbing? Do they para? Do they do their nails? Are they interested in makeup? Things like that are just, like, very much so, like, gal activities. And just, like, who are their style icons? Who do they try to emulate? Because everybody tries to emulate somebody. Even if you don't think that you are, you probably are. So it's just things like that. And I think that's what really does make the difference between somebody trying out gal, or, like, cosplaying gal, I hate to say, or actually being gal. It's just the immersion concept, I guess you could say. Anyways, I think this is a good conversation to kind of scaffold into some of the questions I was asked on Instagram. And one person asked me, what are your unpopular opinions about Gyaru? And I have several, and even probably the one I just stated earlier about immersion and not being gal enough if you don't immerse yourself. That probably would get a lot of people's panties in a twist, but I'll talk about some more. I think it's not necessarily an unpopular opinion, because a lot of people agree with me, but you can own all the brand in the world and still not be gal. I think Gyaru is treated like Harajuku fashion, or like Lolita fashion, where people feel like they need to buy their way in to Gyaru fashion, when honestly, aesthetically, it's more about a skill set. Can you do your makeup and hair gal? Can you cord your clothes in a way that look Gyaru? You can have an H&M or a Forever 21 coordinate, but if you know how to style clothes in a way that are Gyaru, then you having brand or not having brand is not going to matter, especially if your hair and makeup is very much so on point. A lot of my first coordinates or my first looks were done entirely without brand. I did not have the money for that. I was very much so broke when I first started. Another unpopular opinion may be that you have to have extremely thick skin to be in Gyaru fashion, and you have to be in this lifestyle and fashion for the right reasons, because I think a lot of people try really hard to be Gyaru influencers, and I know that sounds wild coming from me while I'm trying to do this podcast and I do a bunch of social media stuff, but I do it because I like doing it. I do it because I enjoy creating things, and this could get 1 view or 1,000,000 views, and it wouldn't matter to me. Like, it's more about doing this for the love of gal, because I love talking about gal. I love making things or contributing to the gal sphere of things. And when you put forth stuff on the internet, you open the floodgates to criticism. You open the floodgates to a lot of mean shit being said. And I feel like if you take all that in, you will leave this fashion, because there's unfortunately just really shitty people out there, and they will do anything to try to hurt you, especially if they see you as a threat or as competition, because unfortunately there's a lot of that goes around in these spaces. And if, like I said, if you're doing things for the wrong reasons, or just letting yourself get really caught up in that and don't have a thick skin, you're really gonna have a rough time. This fashion is not for the faint of heart, and like, I say this also from a place of, like, also the most Gyaru thing you can ever do is say shit with your chest. Don't do the sneaky he said, she said bullshit. If you don't like somebody, don't pretend to be friends with them. If you don't vibe with somebody, don't stick around. Like, I don't understand the necessity or the point of that. That's just a waste of everybody's time, when you could just say it with your chest and just be like, yeah, I don't like that person, I don't fuck with them, whatever. And that doesn't mean don't be respectful or cordial in certain instances where, like, obviously there's a lot of people around, and maybe you can't avoid that person entirely, or maybe, like, I don't know how to explain it. There's definitely a lot of different instances. Same goes with concrete. If somebody's saying it with their chest and meaning well, you have the option to take or not take that. And it's up to you, you know, see where it's coming from. If it's somebody you look up to or somebody that looks like they know what the fuck they're doing, you should probably listen to them. And if they don't look like they know what the fuck they're doing, or it's not an aesthetic that you align with, you know, because like I said, there's multiple styles and eras of gal. So if somebody's telling you to go sweeter when you're not a sweeter gal that like follows Popteen and Agya and you're more of an egg girl, yeah, you probably don't want to listen to like mine or Lizzie's advice, possibly, potentially. And that's okay to be like, hey, I want to aim for this, not this, so your advice doesn't necessarily vibe with me. And like I said, if you have a thick skin, that shouldn't affect you. That's nothing necessarily personal. That's just somebody being honest. And like I said, honesty is the best way to, I think, thrive in this fashion. Honesty, transparency, and just having a thick skin. Because, you know, like I said, there are going to be people who are just assholes for absolutely no fucking reason. And it's sad, pathetic, and it gives unemployed and fan behavior at times, and just let it roll off your skin. If you truly like gal, don't let the community necessarily be the entirety of your experience in this fashion. Because if you like gal, it's more about who you look up to, and I guess this kind of scaffolds me into another, like, unpopular opinion, is stop looking at guys and gals for your only source of inspiration. That doesn't mean that you can't look up to somebody or, like, align with somebody because they look like you or they have the same features as you. That's totally fine. But I feel like the community holds certain people to just such a high pedestal or high standard that when somebody acts human or makes a mistake, it's like the craziest shit ever. And it's like, wait a minute, those are just people. We're all just fucking posting on the internet. We're just normal people. Like, we're not models or celebrities or these people who have like PR teams and management that handle this type of thing. So it like really hurts people when people are mean or hurtful or just, you know, put a microscope into somebody's life. Like, that's just insane. And I just, like I said, feel like the community has this really shitty habit of, like I said, really just focusing on the guys and gal aspect of it, which, I mean, makes sense because you're a part of the community, but just people aren't models. They aren't influencers to that high of degree, and the people aiming to be that, I almost want to arguably say look out for them. Like, try to figure out what their reasoning is behind things. Are they doing gal because they love gal, or are they doing it because it's such a niche thing that they think it's gonna make them popular or make them like well known at the end of the day, when honestly there's like 50 of us. There's not that many of us. There's a lot of people who look in on what this community or this fashion looks like, but there's not actually realistically a lot of participants comparatively. I think if you take the whole J fashion community as a whole, we're quite big, but if you narrow us down to our sub-styles and categories like Lolitas and Decora and BK people and gal, then everybody is quite small. So you just really have to do things because you love doing it, and you really have to remind yourself that at the end of the day, the people that post looks or things or resources, they're just human. They're the same as you. They go to school or they work a job and they go home and they do this with their free time. And hopefully it's productive and positive stuff. And if it's not, like I said, you have to have a thick skin and just let it roll off your chest. And that can be really hard to do because obviously people are human and go through things and feel shit. And that's totally understandable and stuff. But like I said, if your experience is defined just by the community or certain people, you are not going to have a good time here. This gets me into my second question, which is from a person who asked, how do you survive as a solo gal? And I think I kind of just explained how I survive as a solo gal, but I guess I could expand on this more. I think also a lot of new gals are really impressed by galsas, and of course we all want friends that like the same things as we do and everything. But honestly, maybe it's just because I am old and bitter and I have dealt with many people and like hardships or just things that butt heads, right? When it comes to galsas, and just to me, gal circles are overrated. You do not need them to have a good time to be gal. You can just meet up with your good friends and do gal activities, and those people not even be gal and just have a good time. I do that all the time. Now, I do know that I am quite privileged and quite lucky because I live in the Bay Area and there's a lot of accessibility to Japanese related things. So like there's the private karaoke booths, there used to be purikura, we have, you know, cute cafes to take aesthetic pictures at, we have the boba places, we just have a bunch of things to do. And I realize that other people don't always necessarily have that, and so you really have to figure out, I guess, things that'll work. Like you have to bring the karaoke to your house, or you have to bring certain things into your life that are gal. Like, for instance, like a lot of the Reiwa gals really like XL Tribe. Hell, even the Heisei gals like XL Tribe. So like have a movie night with yourself. Just watch the concerts, like a concert on a projector. Watch the high and low movies. Watch IU concerts, Namie concerts, any of that, and it's a gal activity. Dress up in your favorite outfit and go to a cafe. Go to Starbucks or something and get a cute ass frappuccino and take a picture with it. Like, just things like that can be fun, you know? Like, get a little Divoom with the speaker, and they come with mics now, and you can just do karaoke at your home or something. There's ways to incorporate it even if you don't have access or the people around you. And I mean, it's great if your friends are really supportive and you're just like, hey, I want to do this thing, will you guys do it with me, even though, like, they may not be gal. Thankfully, a lot of my friends are extremely supportive and really interested into the same things as me. They just aren't gal or whatnot, or don't identify as gal. And like I said, I am the gal in the friend group, but that doesn't define my experience as a gal, and not everybody in my friend group or in my life has to be gal in order for me to have a good time or thrive as a gal, I guess. Funnily enough, I really didn't join the Gaijin gal community until I was 5 or 6 years into my gal journey already. I had been into gal since I was like a teenager, since I was like 14 or 15 years old, but I didn't start participating or doing gal until I was like 18 or 19. And I've been gal for, I can confidently say I've been gal for like 13 years now. So I've seen things come and go, and I've seen people get in and leave and come back and leave. I've seen all sorts of stuff. But personally for me, I never really involved myself with the community just based on like how toxic it was when I first started. Like, it scared me even. So I just kind of did my own thing. And I mean, like I said, I come from a place of privilege in the sense that like Liz Lisa would come and visit here, or like all the Japanese artists, like the J-rock and the J-pop artists would come out here for like a big event. We used to have this event called J-Pop Summit, and I go all out for that. So we've had Japanese designers come out here and debut things, and like even in the Los Angeles area, like there used to be a ton of things to do. Like Mars used to visit, Gold's, all of them. Like I goes to Harlem, all of it. And so there wasn't necessarily a need for a community for me, given the fact that like I had accessibility to a gal experience without needing to be around people, I guess. Like, I had a Kinokuniya, so I just go to Kinokuniya and look at gal mags all day. I had the Purikura place, so I just take photo booth photos with my friends. Wasn't until a lot of that stuff started disappearing that I started seeking community online. It was really scary for me, but I had thought that it calmed down, and I think for a point in time the environment wasn't too terrible, and then I don't know what happened. So I definitely know that a lot of people do not have the same accessibility or experiences that I have had, and it makes it a lot rougher. And I know a lot of people, they seek community out because they're not around people or things that align with their interest. So it definitely can be hard to like thrive as a gal, but you know, just sometimes you have to make it happen for yourself in the best way that you know how to. The community is not everything. I mean, it's an unpopular opinion of mine, but I have a hard time even sometimes calling the gal community a community because it doesn't act like one. There are no collective agreements on things, or just there's no togetherness really in our community, I feel like, and it's why there's so much chaos and negativity here, because like I said, there's no ban system, there's no way of vetting weird people or keeping people out, and a lot of people hate each other, thus they won't work together, even though it would be for the good of the community and whatnot, which, I mean, is understandable, you know, like, a lot of people just respect each other enough to avoid each other, and that's fine, and stuff, but, like, that's the thing. I think a lot of people do feel this way. A lot of people have expressed this to me, where they're just like, I don't know how to feel about this community. Everybody feels really distant from each other. Everybody feels like they're not talking to each other or whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. You know, like I said, you can't really call it a community if it doesn't act like one. A lot of people have went as far as to say that there are two communities that are split and stuff. I definitely can see how people think there's that as well. But as somebody who kind of just contributes from the outside, and it's really hard because, like, a lot of people consider me a part of the community, and then, you know, I personally feel like I have always been, like, a black sheep or an outsider, because I've never quite fit in with the community and the dynamic. I've just never really truly vibed with it. But then here I make gal content, and here I do all this translation work and scans and tutorials and podcasts and all this stuff. So it's really hard to say I'm not a part of the community, because I am contributing to the people who like gal, or to the community. So, like, I don't quite know even where I stand, but I'm definitely a solo gal. I don't have a gal circle anymore. I don't really involve myself with meets or anything like that. I just feel like I'm at a place in my life where there's such a huge age gap between me and the people who are just now getting into gal. I'm going on 32 years old, and most people my age have retired out of gal by now. People my age in gal is quite a rarity, but, like, I feel like I can still pull it off. I think I'm still doing a-okay. But just the people who are interested in gal, especially locally or whatever, they're so much younger than me, and it's not to say that I can't be friends with people younger than me. It's just the fact that, like, I don't know, we're just at different points in our lives, and it makes it really hard to hang out with people when your priorities are different than theirs, or when your skill level is different than theirs, just in the sense that you always end up being the mom friend, you always end up being the mentor, and sometimes you don't want to be that person all the time. Like, sometimes you just want to vibe with people who already know what they're doing. You don't want to have to worry about drama or misunderstandings, or, you know, people not having their finances or whatnot together at meets or whatnot. I know a lot of people have dealt with that in the past, and, like, just, yeah, it's a lot. So with that being said, gal subs aren't everything. You don't need them to thrive as a gal. I personally think they're fucking overrated, and it's totally fine to be a solo gal. I think the ones that do work out, the circles that do work out, they either have multiple generations that, like, have a turnover, or they're people who are really good friends beyond just Gyaru. So it works out because they have more to talk about than just gal, and they probably were friends even before Gyaru, and so it's truly a sisterhood, and they would be friends with or without gal, and that's why it works out. Because I feel like a lot of people realize really fast that just because you like gal doesn't mean you will have everything in common with somebody who is gal, I guess you could say. Like, yeah, you both like the same thing, but your perception of what those things are or other things will clash, I guess. Like, you'll run into a lot of disagreements just based on lifestyle and priorities and yada yada. Like, it happens. Yeah, survival is definitely dependent on what you make of it. Gal is what you make of it at the end of the day. Like I said, you can bring the karaoke to you. You can bring the cute cafes to you. You can incorporate gal into your everyday life by just making things cuter or more glamorous or more sexy. You can blog about your journey. You can talk about the models that you're following right now, your current booms, all of that. And that still makes you gal. So this moves me on to my next question, which is, what is the most important lesson that you've learned about Gyaru? This is a really fun and interesting question. I think one of the most important lessons I learned about gal is confidence, and confidence in all aspects. Putting on the makeup, putting on the clothes, all of that always feels like battle armor to me, like to face the day. I always feel so good in this fashion. Like, there's just something about it that makes me feel feminine and sexy and cool and all of that. I might have gained that somewhat before, but gal really helped amp that confidence up. And it really, like I said, told me to say shit with my chest, be bold, be unapologetic. be loud. Take up fucking space. Be that bitch. Stop giving a fuck what other people think. Stop seeking approval for other people and start competing with yourself and seeking approval from yourself. Those are the most important aspects about gal, and it all boils down to having confidence and believing in yourself and believing in what you do as a person. I think that is one of the things that I really have taken away from being Gyaru, and just honestly being the best woman that I can possibly be, and just really owning it. I guess that is truly what I have learned. Moving on to the next question, would you say that the music industry played a huge part in Gyaru? Abso-fucking-lutely, because gals would go to clubs and party, and what do clubs have? Music, of course. And I feel like you're one of two types of gals. You're either a club gal who likes to get drunk and party, that, or you like going to karaoke, which also involves music, that, or you're a concert girly like myself and you follow a lot of charisma artists that aren't necessarily gal but cater to the gal demographic. And of course, I couldn't not answer this question without mentioning para para. Para para isn't exclusively gal. There's people who para para who aren't gal, but a lot of gals enjoy that because it used to be at the clubs. It was a mainstream thing, and I feel like gals are really appealed to electronic dance music. A lot of them now go to EDC and Ultra Japan and all that. They like themselves some raves. Even in the early 2000s, a lot of my my egg magazines or my pop teens even show gals at raves and shit. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, the music industry definitely played a huge role in gal, just in terms of the music and having a vibe and having the environment, I guess, to party. And then that gets me on to actual gyaru artists. I feel like so many models not only had a modeling career but had a music career. So of course we had Tsubasa with Moki Bunny, we had Sakurina dip her toe in, we have the current Reiwa gals even pushing to be idols, which I personally don't care for. I just don't feel like it's really their thing. I think they're better off as models. Though recently they did a cover of a Juliet song called Yuutsu-Dive. I think it was a collaboration also with Nuts, but it was really cute. I liked it. I feel like they're better singers when they're not trying to be cutesy and stuff, because Yuutsu-Dive, I don't want to say it's a serious song, but it's a J-pop song, right? Whereas the other songs had a lot of cutesy chanting idol stuff or rapping, and I just feel like that's just not their vibe. I wish more songs like Yuutsu-Dive would come out that were original, that weren't covers. I would listen to stuff like that. I know also back in the day, I think Yumatsu and Aina Tanaka also did Eurobeat covers of songs or something, or maybe it was their own song. But they also had a music career, and I know Shizuka Moto had one for 2 seconds. It's barely known about. So gals themselves have kind of dipped into the music career, and that's kind of also how I got into gal, not necessarily through gal artists, but through the artists that were gal friendly. Back in the day, I listened to so much, not that Crystal K is gyaru, but I feel a lot of gyaru listen to Inflow and Crystal K and Soelu. Soelu's in a lot of my gyaru magazines, and who else? I grew up in the mid 2000s stuff, so back before that it was Hal and Globe and fucking Keiko on her own, who I think is a part of Globe, and then TRF is a thing, and then of course you have the Avex big three, right? So you have Ayumi Hamasaki, Namie Muro, and Kodakumi, and I listened to all three of those religiously, and that's kind of what dipped my toe into gal, along with just Eurobeat, because I've talked about the story before, how I was really into Initial D, and it was my first subtitled anime that I watched, and it left a very big impression on me. Even the ending theme has fucking Move in it, and I was whoa, this is a Japanese music video, how fucking cool, because this is back before the days of YouTube, before things like that were easy to get a hold of. So for me, that left a really strong impression on me, and of course, back in those days, we had Kazaa and LimeWire. Yes, I know about Napster, but I was too young for Napster, but I was around for Kazaa. And so I would download the openings and ending themes, and that's how I found the music videos, and that's how I'd find the para para videos online or whatnot, because they'd be uploaded on those websites or on message boards, I guess. And that's kind of what exposed me to Gyaru. And I was also like watching J-dramas at the time, and not necessarily that people in the J-dramas were Gyaru per se. It's just that they kind of had a vibe that gave off gal through like hair sets, or just the clothes were from like 109 brands that were popular at the time or whatever. So all of that was just really impressive to me, and I didn't necessarily know it was gal. I just thought it was just how Japanese people dressed. But a lot of it, yeah, was influenced by music. I remember also, like, being very impressed by, like, Mihimaru GT, the lead vocalist, kind of, the girl vocalist at least, she kind of gives off a gal vibe as well. And then, like, later on, I ran into, like, magazines and stuff and would flip through them, and that's how I knew, like, gal was exclusively a different thing compared to, like, the stuff featured in 17 magazine or Can Can or whatnot, that, like, gal was its own thing compared to that. So, yeah, I definitely feel like music has its place in gal culture and stuff. Like, nowadays, I feel like a lot of gyaru are into K-pop, and it's a little grating. Not that they weren't before. Like, back in the day, we had, like, Boa on the cover of Pop Teen, and, like, fucking, who else? Like, Closet Kwai, I think, was big at one point in time. Not that they're necessarily K-pop, but they just had a moment. But now it just feels like the Reiwa gals are more interested in learning K-pop dance covers than, like, para-paraing or, like, just being interested in J-pop artists. I get really excited when they use J-pop in their TikTok videos. I'm just like, oh my god, there's BE:FIRST, or oh my god, there's Tonomi Itano from like fucking AKB, her solo stuff. That, or they'll play god, what else have they played? Anytime I hear J-pop though, I get like so fucking excited. Because just I wish J-pop had more of its moment to, like, shine again. I really do miss it. Like, I'm a huge music freak outside of, Gyaru fashion. I mean, I'm planning a whole trip around Summer fucking Sonic. If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what does. But yeah, I definitely feel like they go hand in hand. I know there are a lot of people who even travel to Japan that are gyaru, who go to, like, Age Fair and things like that to para with other people and stuff, so I mean, that's telling as well as is. I'm just really ready for the next It Girl. I've talked about how, like, Kaylin Anzai, I think at one point in time, was supposed to be that It Girl, but I don't know what the fuck Avex was doing, but it didn't work out. And so, I don't know. I don't know what's next. I think I would be really excited if there was, like, a new charisma artist and, like, a new big charisma gal, like the next Tsubasa Masuaka. I know that there's one gal on TikTok who's trying to aim for that. I think she's more involved with, like, the Loalo stuff right now. I know she was trying out for Nuts and some other stuff as well. I don't know if she made it in, but, you know, that's pretty ambitious, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more gals resurface or come to the surface outside of just social media. I bought the newest Egg magazine just because so many girls showed up for the street snap shoots that were from social media. People who I was, like, familiar with, that were either, like, Loalo girls or just girls that were gal that were active on social media. And I was like, oh my god, I know who these people are. Like, I don't know them, but, like, I follow them. So I, you know, started to just buy Egg again because of that. And it really shows how, like, social media does play a huge role in Gyaru now. But it's just nice seeing people active in person and, like, touching grass, I guess. And I hope to just see more of it in the future. I think a lot of people are getting very burnt out of social media, I think. Like, I there's only so much you can do with social media, and this is coming from somebody who lives on social media. Like, my way of socializing with you guys is through social media, obviously, but honestly, sometimes it's just nice to touch grass and do gal things in person, or see people in person, or see your friends in person. And like I said, I keep bringing up my trip, and, like, I'm going to be that meme that's like, be prepared to be sick of me when the closer it gets to this trip. But like I really am looking forward to going to Japan and just seeing what I can see there. And I'm obviously not delusional. Like, I know Gal isn't nearly as big as it used to be, but it'll just be nice to, see what I can find, I guess. And if there's nothing, I'm there for other reasons too, so it's not going to put a damper on my trip. I'm there for music stuff. I'm there for a lot of different media stuff. I'm kind of a media junkie. I love myself a good J-drama. I love J-music. Like I said, I even want to do cultural stuff like Matsuris, if I can find one to go to and enjoy. I'd love to squeeze in other concerts on my trip. I'd love to just, find really cool, neat places, even beyond like the Gyaru or J fashion spectrum of things. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I intend on vlogging/blogging that trip and documenting it, especially because like I'm not really socializing with anybody over there. It's just me, myself, and the internet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens from there. I think it'll be really exciting to be in a place where the music is familiar to me, I guess. Like, just hearing the music on the street, sometimes, like, I watch walking videos of, like, the crosswalk scramble, or just, like, a random walking vid, and I'll hear, like, a song that I know that wouldn't play out in America, right? And I'll get so excited. Like, I'll feel, like, less of a alien, I guess, because I'm just like, oh, I know this song. Like, not that I don't know American songs, it's just exciting to hear, like, things that I guess I regularly listen to. Anyways, this podcast has gone on for an hour and 15 minutes, and you guys are probably very sick of just hearing my voice now. So I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for listening if you've made it this far. I hope the answers to my questions were good enough answers. I hope I didn't bore you too much with like my travel plans and things like that. I'm very hyped up about that, so I'm gonna be obnoxious for a little while. I'm sorry. But I hope just even my insight on like egg and all of that was entertaining enough for you. If you'd like for me to do another one of these, just let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to do another podcast with like a guest next time. That would be really fun. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time.